And we're back with AI environmental blogger Andy Maisley, who writes on Substack. Andy, let's talk about the individual water impact of using chatbots. A couple of years ago, some scientists at UC Riverside estimated that each 100-word AI prompt uses about 1 bottle of water, or 519 milliliters of water. That number went everywhere. A lot of people have heard about that. What have you learned about the amount of water used per prompt?
Yeah, a ton to say about that. First of all, just going back to that study. So that study has been really radically misunderstood. At the time, they had found that it was more like 15 to 20 prompts per bottle of water. The issue is that the Washington Post had run this story that said a bottle of water per email based on this report, this study specifically. And they had basically implied that, oh, maybe if you use like 10 prompts to send a single email, then this will eventually add up to be a full bottle of water. And at the time, that study was pretty good. They were working with the best information that we had. But since then, a lot more has come out. And also AI chips have also just become radically more efficient. I think something else that's missing from this conversation a lot is that on average, just AI chips are becoming so much more efficient over time that the average water and energy costs are actually going down per prompt, at least right now. And so a lot of people are still walking around with this completely incorrect idea, I think, that each individual prompt uses a full bottle of water.
So how much does each prompt use based on what we've learned?
Yeah, my basic understanding is that if you include every single part of the water cost, basically, which a lot of people really push me on, like it's not just the prompt, it's the training of the AI model, it's the infrastructure and things like that. Altogether, it seems to be around 1 milliliter of water, which is about 1/500th of a bottle of water specifically. And obviously, this has a range of uncertainty because different prompts have different lengths, but on average, it seems to land around 1 milliliter of water per prompt. And just to put this in perspective, this is about like maybe 200,000th of your daily water footprint overall, because almost everything that you do also carries a water cost with it, because again, we just use water in so many different ways, basically. So the only way that you could significantly increase your water footprint with AI is to spend literally all day sending something like 2,000 prompts and reading all of the responses. And my basic argument in my blog is that if you were doing this, if you were spending all day sending 2,000 prompts and reading all of those, you probably wouldn't be doing a lot of other things that also use a lot of water. So even just using electricity in other places, or like, I don't know, using your car, like refining gasoline involves water and stuff like that. And it's actually very likely that someone spending all their day doing nothing but poking around on AI is actually using significantly less water than the average person, just because our digital infrastructure in general is just so efficient compared to most of the other things that we do. Especially like if you go to a golf course or something,
Right.
like your expected water cost is going to be pretty high for the day.
And there's a number I pulled from your website, from some of your writing, that said if you were to send 8,000 ChatGPT prompts per day for an entire year, that is what would increase your personal water footprint by 1%. So it would really take a remarkable amount of ChatGPTing to just increase your personal water footprint by just a tiny, tiny amount. You're someone who obviously cares very deeply about the environment and your individual environmental footprint. I think you're a vegetarian or a vegan because of, you're mindful of your output and your footprint. Why are you spending so much time pushing back on the environmental narratives around data centers and arguing essentially that they're not as significant as a concern that people might think?
A lot of different reasons. The main one is I'm pretty worried that a lot of everyday people who care a lot about the environment are getting really wildly misinformed about who the actual big bad guys are here. A few weeks ago, a friend was in a pizza place and had overheard two teenagers talking, and one of them had said, like, "Oh, this mutual friend of ours claims to be an environmentalist, but she uses ChatGPT. Isn't that crazy?" And then she had immediately gone over and ordered like a meat lover's pizza specifically. And like my claim is that if you're worried about water anyway, like meat and animal agriculture is just such a clear win for like reducing your footprint compared to AI. And I'm pretty worried that people like that person had a genuinely very good motivation to reduce their water footprint, because there are a lot of ways that we should reduce our water and energy, obviously. But because everybody has very limited amounts of time to actually think about this and adjust their behavior, if you put that much effort into not doing something like never prompting AI because of this, I basically think you're losing out out on all of these much more promising ways to reduce both your emissions and your water consumption specifically. So I basically think it's a minor tragedy when someone who genuinely cares about water issues decides that this whole thing they should do is boycott AI. I just don't think that's going to move the needle at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the big motivations for writing about it more.
I see. So it's helping people kind of pick the right battles and fight the right wars. Stay with us. We are going to have much more with Andy Maisley right after the break. We're going to be talking about AI data centers and electricity. Could data centers affect the rates that you and I pay for power? Generation AI continues after this.